Thank you, everybody, for coming. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is the issue of running like a girl and a few other issues related to women becoming involved in fitness. And to start, I'd like you to take a moment just to think personally about what does a healthy person look like? What are the actual physical characteristics of somebody who is healthy? And I do this activity all the time in workshops and seminars and things, and I get pretty much the same list every single time. Nice skin, clear, sparkling eyes, healthy looking hair, nice teeth, that sort of thing. When it comes to weight, people always say not too fat, not too thin, somewhere in the middle. A healthy person is also somebody who has no major signs of deformity or injury, things like that. Not healthy? It's not a problem in today's world. We spend billions of dollars in our society going to the makeup counter and the drugstore and wherever else and buying all kinds of potions and lotions that can go on your skin and hide the cosmetic problems of not being physically healthy. But why are we doing that? And when I became a fitness instructor, I started realizing more and more that this was what was happening. And the problem with that is, it's fine to put a veneer of health on your skin, but it doesn't do anything to lower your risk of heart disease or heart attack. It doesn't do anything to help your risks of diabetes, cancer, arthritis, any of those problems that we know are related to ongoing poor eating and lack of exercise. So I started questioning this, and I also started noticing at the same time that I was getting quite a list of, I started collecting a list, I guess you could say, of things that women were saying to me when they were coming into the gym, the things that were proving how reluctant they were to participate in what I was doing. And before I go on, I just want to make a quick disclaimer that what I'm talking about here and the women that I'm going to be talking about in my experiences are not people for whom money or geographical location is a barrier to healthy living. Not talking about food security issues, which is a huge problem here in the Maritimes. I'm just talking about the people who can financially afford to come through the door of the gym. There's a gym or a fitness class or a rec center in their area, but they're protesting when they come through the door. So this list is a few of the things that we're seeing. And I'm going to read you, these are the keywords, but I'm going to read you some of the actual statements. And every one of these is something I've legitimately heard as quoted from a client coming in. I'm a complete and total dummy. I can't do anything right. I hate these machines. I hate working out. I don't want to be in front of the mirror. The mirror is judging me. I can't go into a co-ed gym. I don't want the men checking me out, but on the other hand, I'll be insulted if they don't. Yep. I can't use that piece of equipment. That equipment's for men. I'm only using the equipment for women. There is actually no such thing. I can't lift anything. I have no muscles. No, really. No, I have no muscles at all. I will not lift anything more than 3 pounds. There was a trainer on TV said no woman should lift more than 3 pounds. This is about a year and a half ago. So I'm constantly getting that sound bite in the gym and in fitness classes. I'm only doing cardio so I can lose fat. And the other one is I only want to lose fat right here. I'm not doing any of this arm and leg stuff you're talking about. Women with big muscles are gross. They don't look like real women anymore. I need every fan turned on in here. It's too hot in this room. I'm sweating like a pig. I'm disgusting. Oh, yeah, sure. Easy for you to do that, hun. Look at you. You're thinner, younger, whatever the case may be. Sure, you can do that, but I'm never going to be capable of doing that. And, oh, this is my personal favorite. Oh, you must be one of those women who can put her ankles behind her head, aren't you? I'm going to talk about that one a bit more. That's a good one. But just look at this list of things that women are saying about themselves to me. Usually I'm a total stranger the first time they walk through the door. If I walked up to you and said any one of those things about your sister, you'd punch me. So why is it okay to come through the door to my gym or my fitness class and say it about yourself? Really not. So I've started digging deeper. When I have the opportunity to say to somebody, why did you just call yourself a complete and total dummy? Why are you insisting to me that you're stupid? Obviously, it's not impressing me. You feel I need to know this. And everybody thinks they're worse than everybody else in the gym, less capable than everybody else. So I started digging deeper, and I started asking when I could take the opportunity, why are you saying this? And I've come up with a bunch of answers, and I've sort of categorized them a little bit. First answer that I get is a combination of these three things. Past experiences of harsh judgment, past experience of failure, and low expectations. And harsh judgment, I can't tell you how many times when I finally get to the point of the conversation with a woman who's saying these things, that somewhere in her school years she had a really horrible experience in phys ed class. It's almost universal. And certainly anybody, there is an age issue here. Anybody who's Generation X or older, this is very, very, very common. Teaching has changed quite a bit since, so anybody who's the millennial generation or younger hasn't had as much of this negativity, although there is still some. But those of us that are Gen X and older, this is pretty much what you get. Failure, just not being capable of doing a particular activity, a particular element of a sport, whatever it may be, maybe not making the cheerleading team or the Little League team or whatever the case may be. So taking one or two experiences and applying that across the board as being a universal failure with physical activity. And then low expectations is the other one. And we've done, as educators, there's been tons of studies done where we found that students will behave according to the expectations set by their teachers, but also by their parents. And this one affected me very personally growing up because I was born with an eye disease called strabismus. So I've worn glasses my entire life. So I've lived my entire life with that old trope of being the girl with the glasses, which means I was never going to be getting good at any sport. I was going to be a complete and total physical failure. I was supposed to trip over my own feet and fall on my face on a regular basis. And when I didn't, that upset some folks. But that was what I was supposed to be brilliant in school and all those sorts of things. Didn't always work out that way. Related to the low expectations is the old thought that girls can't do math. And again, this has changed in the way we educate today. But for anybody older, this is pretty standard. And the best example of this that I get in real life is I often get women coming in, especially older women, coming in, and I'm teaching them something like, say, how to do bicep curls. And I hand them, an 8-pound weight or something like that just to get started and see how much they can lift. Oh, no, dear, I can't. Remember from the list earlier, I have no muscles. And every time somebody says that, I'm like, well, how come your spleen's not on the floor? But the part of the problem is they think 8 pounds is hugely heavy. And they will talk me down to letting them use a 1-pound weight. And most times, if I can, I hide the 1-pound weights and the 3-pound weights in a gym if I can. I don't want anybody using them unless they're rehabilitating a wrist. Because what happens is they think that's a lot of weight. And then I say, do you realize 1 pound is a block of butter? And then they go, oh yeah. I'm like, you really mean to tell me you're going to have to do some physical exertion to lift a block of butter? No. So then they get over it. Lack of physical literacy comes into all of this as well. And aside from teaching aerobics classes and working in fitness centers and in gyms, I also teach belly dance. And the best example of physical literacy comes from this. One of the things we do in belly dance is the shoulder shimmy, done like this. All right, and it's done with the rib cage lifted, the chest lifted, the shoulders pulled back, and the back muscles drawn back. It's like hitting your shoulders to the wall behind you, alternating them. You know what I see a lot of women try to do instead of this? Right? I hope most of you can see the difference between this and this. This is with the elbows. This is with the shoulder muscles. And so a lack of physical literacy, especially what we've termed in fitness terminology now, the back body, because we don't see it back there, we're not as aware of it. For boys, physical literacy is very different from a very, very young age. As soon as a boy, as a toddler, as a small child, is coordinated enough to pick up a toy and throw it, somebody starts working on that boy's physical literacy. And the reason is, somebody's going to want to make sure that boy doesn't throw like a girl. So boys get coaching in physical literacy quite often before they can even talk yet. Okay? Another thing related to this is high awareness of the male gaze. And a lot of the work I do is in women's only situations. I teach an aerobics program called Bellyfit that is women's only. Belly dance tends to be women only. Most of my clients coming into the gym are women, so they want a female trainer. So the bulk of my practice is with women. Even when there's no man in the room, they're aware. And going back to the shoulder shimmy for a moment, in the spring I was teaching a beginner belly dance class, and I had a woman say to me one day, she said, you know, Terri, she said, I'm doing it like you said, with my shoulder muscles and in the back, and I'm doing it, but every time I do it the way you say to do it right, my boobs shake. And I said, they're supposed to. That's the point, right? Remember that line in Dirty Dancing? God wouldn't have given you maracas if he didn't want you to shake them? Okay? That's That's what we're going for. And yet, she was upset. She felt that if she wasn't doing it exactly right, it wouldn't be sexy enough. And I said, you're in a room full of heterosexual women. What do we care? You know, you're here for fitness. You're here to get physically active. What difference does it make? But yet, she was very aware that as a belly dancer, this is supposed to be sexy. And even though this was her first time taking the class, and we were, I don't know, 7, 8 weeks into a 10-week term, she was very concerned about that. So there doesn't have to be a man in the room for us to be concerned about the male gaze. And then anxiety over accusations of inappropriateness. And this sometimes does come in co-ed situations from men, but most often it's coming from one woman to another. And another physical example that I often see when we're doing aerobics classes, one of the old standard moves, we've been doing aerobics for, 30-odd years, is the hamstring curls. So you step and lift your heel up in the back. And what I often see in classes as I'm doing this, when there's a beginner in the class and she's really self-conscious, is this. If you look at my knees. And she's always looking around side to side to see who's watching her. See that a couple times a month. Why? Because it's not ladylike to stand like this. And what I mean by accusations of being inappropriate is that ladylike, or saying somebody is unladylike, is a sanitized, ladylike way of saying somebody's standing there like a slut. And even though nobody's ever going to come in and say, I'm not doing those hamstring curls with my legs, I'm going to keep my knees together because I don't want people thinking I'm loose. Really, let's call the elephant in the room what it is. Nobody wants to be called a slut. Okay? Another good example of that, spinal imprinting. When you're lying on the floor to do abdominal work, we get you in a position where your pelvis tilts towards your rib cage. You're sort of like this, but on the floor. I won't torture the cameraman by getting down on the floor. And the tailbone is straightened. What you don't realize often is that if you're on the floor in correct imprint position to do abdominal work, to do crunches, to do knees, any of that sort of thing, you are in the exact position a woman is in during heterosexual missionary position sex. So is it any wonder that women get concerned and nervous and self-conscious and feel unsafe doing that in a room full of strangers, especially a co-ed gym where there's strange men where you don't know what he's thinking. You don't know if he's going to take this out of context or the wrong way, and maybe he's going to accost you in the parking lot. There's a safety factor there, but there's also the question of appropriateness, and I see a lot of women on the floor with their knees together as well. And then finally, the other thing that I see quite often is the performance of femininity. And what I mean by that is in co-ed gym situations, especially in the free weight area, it doesn't happen too often, but it happens enough for me to comment on it. We get women who will come in, and I see them when they're there by themselves or they're working out with me, lifting a fair amount of weight or doing, a fairly vigorous workout. When there's men in the room, all of a sudden the workout becomes less intense. They're lifting less weight. Why? Because if I can outlift the guy standing there, he's going to get upset with me. And maybe he's not, but maybe he is. And I have seen some men of a certain age get rather upset. The young ones are not the problem, by the way. I get a lot of women coming in the gym going, oh, there's a bunch of 21-year-old boys over there, and I'm not going anywhere near them because they're all pumped up and full of testosterone. They're not the guys you need to worry about. They're used to women being in the gym. They're used to women playing hockey. It's happened their whole lives. It's the older guy who's going to start grossing and throwing weights around that women are concerned about. So it's not all in a woman's head. It can really happen. Thankfully, it doesn't happen as much as it used to. So what can we do about all of this? Recognize and validate the need to be pretty. Health and beauty, same thing, right? We wear cosmetics to mimic health. Health and beauty are the same thing, but cosmetics does nothing for, like I said, heart disease and diabetes and everything else. If we can recognize this, we're going to get a lot more buy-in from women when it comes to being physically active. As much as I can stand here and tell you how important it is for you to exercise and eat properly to, again, keep you from getting diabetes and cancer and things like that down the road, there's a little hint of that being disingenuous. The fact is, as much as everybody says, oh, I'm just coming into the gym to get healthy, it's not about what I look like. Yeah, it is a little bit about what you look like. Okay, let's keep the women-only gyms and classes open. There's all those personal safety, personal space reasons why we need women's-only facilities. A lot of people say to me, oh, we're past all that old sexism stuff, Terry. We need to close the women's-only gym. No, we don't. We need to keep it open, and we need to promote it even better. Openly declare that we will not embarrass or harm you. And by we in this case, I mean people like me that are fitness industry professionals. Again, too many people coming in with harsh experiences that traumatized them as children. You know, the phys ed teacher in junior high that made you run laps till you puked. Okay? I get that a lot. I really do get that a lot. It doesn't happen to the kids now in school. At least I hope it doesn't. I haven't heard of it in quite a long time. But if you haven't been in a fitness situation since the last time that happened to you, then you don't realize how much has changed. And I get a lot of people coming in going, no. You slow down, Missy. I'm not doing all that crazy stuff that you got those guys over there doing. I'm not going to do that. No fitness instructor is going to do that. No personal trainer is going to do that. And if they do, please don't give them your money. Please walk out and go somewhere else. We need to teach girls and women to accept genuine compliments and call out passive-aggressive ones. And this is where I'm going to get back to that comment about me putting my ankles behind my head. I was finishing up a Bellyfit class one day. Bellyfit's a hybrid of aerobics and belly dance elements with a bit of a yoga stretch at the end. I was finishing up. We were sitting on the floor, feet together, butterfly pose, knees pushed out. I can get my knees fairly close down to the floor. There was a new lady in the class who couldn't, and she was a little upset, and that was the comment she made to me. Oh, you're one of those women. And anytime somebody says one of those women, there's quotation marks around that. There's scare quotes around that. Of course, she was not complimenting me. She was not saying, oh, congratulations, you've really worked hard on getting into that particular yoga pose. No, she was going back to the old slut factor of putting my ankles behind my head, meaning something completely different. It's a passive-aggressive situation. It's bullying all over again, right? So I just said to her, yeah, I'm working on it. Someday, not today, maybe someday. We also need to train ourselves, again, I mean industry professionals, to recognize and validate the past traumas women have had and deal with them. And by that, thankfully it is quite rare that we see it, but we do have sometimes women coming in, men too, but mostly women coming in with a past of things like sexual assault. So, or things like, for example, I've had breast cancer survivors come to belly dance classes and belly fit classes. This is not so comfortable for those folks. We recognize that, we validate that, and we certainly don't push that. Learn about and use the new technology in fitness. And I don't just mean the new types of fitness classes or the new machinery or the new DVD set that's out. I mean these, yoga pants. Yoga pants are a feminist invention. And I'll tell you why. If you haven't been in a fitness situation or a sports situation, if you haven't been physically active since the last time you were in phys ed class in school and you had to wear shorts, please go get a pair. Get a cheap pair. Don't spend a whole lot of money. Even the cheap ones are brilliant. Okay? Why? I don't have to care if I shaved my legs this morning. The chub rub, right in here where your thighs rub together, no longer a problem, right? They're comfortable. You don't have to worry about sweat turning into a smelling situation. They're brilliant. All the things that women worry about personal hygiene and appearance, this covers whole half of the body. In you go to the gym. Problem solved. Feminist invention. Wearing them right here. In fitness and sport, this is the most crucial message of all. We really need to stop using the language that equates femaleness with wrongness. There is no such thing as a girl push-up. I can't say this enough, right? Knees down on the floor, girl push-up, right? Knees up, full plank, guy push-up or man push-up. It never says boy, right? They always say girl and man. Throwing like a girl, running like a girl. These are things that are a matter of coaching, of training, okay? You can go to a running coach and have your running stride analyzed and they can give you feedback and you can be a better runner, okay? Or you can be like Phoebe on Friends and just go flailing through the park, which I love, all right? But there's nothing physically wrong with that. If you're doing it just for fun and fitness, there is nothing wrong with that, okay? There's no such thing as running like a girl versus running like a boy. It's just a matter of how much coaching and training. Remember, like I said, don't throw like a girl. A boy who's not even old enough to speak yet is getting coached on that, okay? And there's a matter of advancement. We all start off with beginner push-ups on our knees. We all eventually advance, if we keep practicing, to full plank. Being female does not mean your sense of movement is wrong. I can't stress this enough. And this is why programs like belly dancing, like yoga, like Bellyfit, like Zumba, all of the dance-based stuff is so popular right now among women, is because we do stand there at the front of the classroom and acknowledge that what you're doing is okay. Thank you very much.